Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all? Are we all well? Good. Love to see a room full of people again after so long. My name is Conor Sheridan, and I'm not the man you've come to see tonight, but I played a small part in getting the man you're about to see to do what he's about to do. And it all started a couple of years ago when we were in rehearsal, and he said to me one day he'd always wanted to do his own show. And I couldn't believe that he actually hadn't done his own show, even though he'd conducted orchestras and so many musicals here, there, and everywhere. So we got writing, and we've come up with tonight, and we just wanted to try it out in front of an audience. You're our final collaborator tonight, so anything could happen. But I just wanted to say that tonight's about fun and having a laugh, and it's about great music. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody, not everywhere in the world right now can have that privilege, so I think it's a good idea just to acknowledge that. I certainly do anyway. And just to finish on this is that all these stories tonight, they're all coupled with music, and every shred of music you hear tonight plays a part in the 40-year career of the man you're about to see. So, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome your musical director, your host, the very funny, the very talented, and also the very musical, Mr. Gareth Valentine.
It's 1972, and it's Ysgol Rhuaben School in North Wales, and I'm having my music lesson, you see, with my teacher, Lottie Williams-Parry. Now, Lottie Williams-Parry was a cross between Speedy Gonzales Edith Sitwell herself said to look like a high altar on the move. She's a very imperious woman. And she said to me, now, Gareth, she said, they all speak like this. You see. Gareth, she said, we'd like to get you ready for the... Are you ready for this? We'd like to get you ready for the Llangollen International Eisteddfod. You're going to be singing in the under-16 vocal solo, she said, as a boy soprano. I said, well, okay. Anyway, that's exactly what I did. And I came second, a disgruntled second. But 25 years later, you see, I go back as an adjudicator to the Eisteddfod, and Elanwy Davies, who's the curator for the Eisteddfod, says, come with me. They all speak like this. Come with me, she said, come with me, and I'll show you the record, she said. And a little boy who came third, his name was Bryn Terfel. And as luck would have it, I got to meet him 30 years later, and I said, you wouldn't know me. I said, but I thrashed you in a book. He said, was it the Tokyo Rose Bowl? I said, good God, no. He said, Montreal? I said, no, not that. Oh, he said, you weren't that little bastard that beat me into third place. That's Llangollen. I said, the very same. And, well, I came from quite modest beginnings, you see, because I lived in a council house in a place called Kevin-Mawr, and with a big family, such that I had to share a bedroom with my parents, you see. And what they did was, my mother she put this rope across the bedroom, and she had stitched 2 curtains together so that there would be some privacy. And we lived like that till I was 18. And the music teacher said, Mr. Valentine, she said, the thing is, Gareth will not make any progress unless he has a real piano. So my dad bought a second-hand piano. And I remember to this day, he and my brother wheeling this grand piano up the garden path into the house. Oh, it was just heaven. So I'd be playing it. And then my first piano teacher, her name was Stella Egan. Great names, these. You know, you don't hear these names anymore. Stella Egan. And I'd be playing my first lesson like this, you see. I'd be going... Middle C is the one with the little red dot on it. And she used to bite her nails like this. Eventually she said, I've done all I can do for you. She said, I think you should go and see someone else. So I went to see my next teacher, Winifred Steele in Rhuaben. Now, Madam Lottie Williams-Parry, who I told you about earlier, she said, Gareth, it's coming to the end of school, and what do you want to do? Oh, I said, miss, I think I'd like to go to London to study music. She said, no, she said, I don't think you should. No. You'd be a little fish in a big pool. Much better that you stay around here in the locality. She said, there's a dearth of tenors in the local choirs. And she said, if you really want to study music, there's always the Wrexham Polytechnic. Yeah, that was her aspiration for me. I told Winifred Steele, my piano teacher, about this, and she said, that's what Lottie said to you? I said, yes. She said, well, fuck the bloody bitch. Fuck the bloody bitch. You're bloody going to London if it's over my dead body. And she got all the prospectuses for Trinity, Guildhall School of Music, the Royal Academy and the Royal College of Music, and I won a scholarship to the Royal College of Music. Fuck you! Myself associated with the church insofar as my digs, cheap digs, in a place in Camberwell and St. James Church. And I was staying in the vicarage, and the curate was a guy called Geoffrey Kirk. And now, bear in mind, I'd already got myself a girlfriend called Harriet. Now, Harriet was a clarinet player, and she had a wonderful embouchure. And But I couldn't understand, you see, because the vicar was there, and also there was a black ballet dancer called Frank from the Royal Ballet, you see, and I couldn't understand why they called each other she and her. Oh, she'll be home late tonight. Oh, she's left her ballet tights by the door. See, all this went on, and what the hell is this? I had no idea. And on the second night in the vicarage, I'm fast asleep in bed, dreaming. And you know when you're aware that someone's in the room? Well, I was aware that someone was in the room, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I opened my eyes slowly to see this dark, black figure looking at me. And it was the curate, it was Geoffrey, in the middle of the room, just watching me for a whole hour in deadly silence. And eventually, wraith-like, he scooted out of the room. Christ, it was fucking scary. And then he went to St. John the Divine to do Mass. Welcome to St. John the Divine. We're going to sing hymn 56 in the Scarlet Hymn Book. How sweet's the name of Jesus found in a believer's ear. Yet sat in that sepulchral gloom, that anthracitic spectre, he put the fear of God into me, no rectum for the rector. And later hence discovered I the love of Bach and Handel, for though he loved both bell and book, thank God he spared the candle. Ah, souls. Across from St. James's Church, there was a students' hostel, and there was a pub near it called the Prince of Wales pub, and that's where all we students, you see, we go to drink there. And I got to know this guy who was a pianist, a student pianist of the Trinity College of Music called Trevor, and I knew there was something really kind of interesting about him, you know. I think there was a euphemism in the 1930s that said these kind of men lean toward the Abbey. Don't worry, guys, you know, because I've turned into one of those men that my mother warned me about. You know. And so I got quite charmed with Trevor, and at the end of a very bibulous night in the Prince of Wales, the closing time, and I said, "Oh, Trevor, I'd love to come back to your room with you tonight." And he said to me, "Oh, I'm both surprised and delighted." Not forgetting, he knew I had a girlfriend, you see, Harriet, who was at the same hostel. So we crept into his room, and we got into bed, and oh my God. Well, I've always said that the best music to describe human copulation is this. And by the way, it's not just that it describes the act, but it gives you a little breather in between, you see. Let me demonstrate it for you. It's called Wojciech's Humoresque. We did the act, and like any good Welsh Baptist boy, I felt everything you should feel, like guilt, dirt, felt filthy, horrible, you know, all those things. And God, what's Harriet going to think? And what if my mum finds out? And, well, the next day I went to the Royal College of Music for my piano lesson as normal. Now, I must tell you that my piano professor's name was John Russell. And John Russell was, I suppose, in his late 60s. And he'd had a laryngectomy to cancer, to get rid of cancer in the throat. And therefore he had a little hole here. And he said that his nose was there only to keep his glasses on. And he called this hole Maud. I call my hole Maud, he said. I said, why? He said there's a poem by Tennyson which begins, I hate the dreaded hollow behind the little hill. So he called it Maud. Quite sweet. And he used to sit behind me never at the side of me, always behind me. But these peculiar guttural wheezes would happen, you see. So a piano lesson would sound something like this. And eventually, you see, I just went, oh, John, I've done the most awful thing. I said, I've slept with somebody. It's terrible. I don't know how to tell you.
What happened? What happened? Yeah, you must tell me.
Oh, it's terrible, John. It's terrible. What did you do? I slept with a man. I know it's terrible. I couldn't get myself together. I was so upset and distressed.
He said, here's what we're going to do. You're going to stop playing the piano and we're going to go to the 99.
Now, the 99 was a pub called the Harrington Arms, and it was so called because there were only 98 rooms in the Royal College of Music. So we went to the 99, and I poured out my heart to John. Now, John, I suppose I'd known him for a while, and he was my mentor and guide. So he introduced me to his lovely wife, who was a Quaker, he a devout Roman Catholic. And I would spend weekends with him and his children, and we'd play piano duets, and we'd do gardening. It was such a sweet, lovely, lovely, memorable time. So I felt I could offload, and I told John the whole story, how I felt, my feelings, my discovering my sexuality, and there it all was, a young man breaking his heart. And John took one look at me and he said,
okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get 2 buns. We're going to get 2 bottles of Newcastle brown ale. I stay in a little hotel down the road, and you're coming to bed with me. But the main thing is, did you enjoy it?
So I met Colin Wilfrid, brother Colin Wilfrid. He was a member of the Society of St. Francis, a Franciscan monk. So he had the whole habit and the whole thing. And I was fascinated by this man, and it was reciprocated insofar as he was very curious about my lifestyle. He said, do you go to bars? I said, yes, I do. He said, oh, I'd love to come with you and see what it's like. He said, I feel I should spread my mission a little bit, you see. So I said, well, you're welcome, Colin, but I said the bars I frequent are maybe not the kind of things you go to, you see, because they're kind of fetish bars, leather and rubber, Basically, it's people standing around looking like deep-sea divers who talk about opera. And so I said, but you need to wear leather. You see, you've got to wear the whole leather. So anyway, he said, I know exactly what to do. And with that, he took me to the St. Catherine's Foundation in Bow, which was a nunnery. And we met this diminutive little nun called Sister Iona. And she said,
oh, Christ, it's really nice to see you again, Colin. She said, what can we do for you, me and the sisters, you see?
And he said, well, oh, that's him. He said, I need to be fitted out in some leather gear. So she said, oh, another one. And she took us down into this other room, and there was this massive room with all the jumble sales, you see, all these boxes full of everything, for the rummage sales. And curiously, my eye set upon one box, and on the box it said, pieces of string less than 9 inches. And another one said pieces of string more the 9 inches. What the fuck? She got a big box, and and by the time she'd finished with him, he was head to toe in leather. He was wearing half a cow. And off we went, and we had the most fucking brilliant time, Brother Colin and I, at the club. We danced through the evening, we got higher and higher. Brother Colin let his hair down, that's quite something for a friar. And while I was the proverbial rabbit, I guess Brother Colin got out of the habit. Dance, dance, wherever you may be, in Sister Iona's costumery. It's a moot point whether Brother Colin was gay, but he'd never get Iona in the family way. 1981, and it's the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, 42nd Street, and in the company, in the ensemble, is a little boy called Stephen Mear, and we were later to become great friends. Yeah, you know Stephen, don't you? Yeah. And so he stood out from the crowd because he was this one little dumpy boy that couldn't dance in time with everyone else, you see. And I thought, he's not going to last long. We came, and also in the ensemble was a girl called Catherine Zeta-Jones, a fellow Welsh girl. And she came through the ranks, and we auditioned her, and she became Peggy Sawyer, our leading lady. And what happened was that the show came off, and a year later, I'm walking up St. Martin's Lane, and I bump into her. Catherine, I said, what's happening with you? Oh, she said, I can't get arrested. I haven't worked in a year, nothing, she said, at all. Good God, really? Yeah. I'm staying with my mum in the Mumbles, she said. But she said, there is this thing, it's like a pilot series called The Darling Buds of May for BBC. But she said, to be honest, I don't think much will come of it. And the next thing, she's on the side of a bus with Anthony Banderas. Zorro in the movie. So her career didn't go so much like that as like that. Now, in the company, does anybody remember a lovely, wonderful actress called Margaret Courtney? Do you remember her? A wonderful, she's very grandiose. She was very imperious woman. And we would go to dinner between shows on a matinee day. And on one occasion, we came back to the Theatre Royal, to the stage door, and there was this guy sitting on the pavement, down on his luck, and holding out his hand like this for money, you see. And she swished by and said, sorry, darling, we're fully cast. Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway. The little fat boy, Stephen who? The lullaby of Broadway. Goodbye, baby. Good night. Catherine's on her way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day. Listen to the lullaby of old Broadway. We're now in Paris, and at the Grand Palais, no less. And what the Châtelet Theatre did was they were going to mount a very special production of Singing in the Rain, and for this occasion they built, can you believe it, under that great cupola, a theatre. They erected a fully produced theatre in this space. It was quite magnificent. And one day, I'm in the pit conducting the orchestra, no one else in the building, just me and the Orchestre du Chambre de Paris. And, you just thought I was a rehearsal pianist. And there I am conducting the orchestra, and onto the stage in front of me comes this very svelte, soignée, beautiful, beautiful woman, elegantly dressed, and with this entourage of men, you see, with walkie-talkies and dark glasses and dark suits. I thought, what the hell's this? And I kept conducting, and she kept smiling at me, and I kept conducting, and she kept smiling at me. And eventually, the leader stood up and said, Maestro Valentine. He said, it is Brigitte Macron, the president's wife. Oh, my God. I said, Madame Macron, I beg your pardon. I said, are you enjoying the music? Oh, very much, she said. Oh, I'm so glad. Are you bringing your husband to see the show? Oh, no, not my husband. The president. Well, that put me in my fucking place. The Albert Hall, King and I, and conducting the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra. Maria Friedman is playing Anna, and Daniel Day Kim is playing the King. And Raymond Gubby decides he's going to treat we, people, and including Jeremy Sams, our director, and at Joe Allen's. And we have a rather bibulous lunch, to the point where the next day at rehearsal, Daniel said to me, you know, I finished having lunch. He said, and I was so drunk. I went to my digs in South Kensington down these very smart Regency streets, and I was taken short. And all I could do was go into this very grand Regency basement and take a piss. And he said, and as I was taking a piss, the door opened and this voice said, I say, you've got a ruddy sauce. You've got a ruddy sauce pissing in my... Oh, he said, you're that guy from Lost, aren't you? For God's sake, come in and use my toilet. Now, we're going to play... This is a little bit of audience participation now, because a little bit of King and I. Now, this is courtesy of the late Barry Cryer. Okay, now, all you have to do... Yes, yeah. All you have to do is blow a COVID-free raspberry, okay? So, can you blow a raspberry? When I point at you, do it. Oh, now, can you make more noise? Right? And that's more like it. Okay, so now, all you have to do, we're going to sing a song from The King and I, and when I point, you're going to do that. Ready? Whenever I feel I hold my erect and whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm a... The result of this deception is very strange to tell, for whenever the people I myself as well. Oh, isn't it fun being here? I love this. He will not always say what you would have him say, but now and then he'll say something wonderful. The thoughtless things he'll do will hurt and worry you, and all at once he'll do something wonderful. He has 1,000 dreams that won't come true. You know that he believes in them, and that's enough for you. You'll always go along, defend him when he's wrong, and tell him when he's strong. He's wonderful, a man who needs your love, and so your president never, never came. 1989, Aspects of Love. Rehearsals, and I'm the humble rehearsal pianist. Trevor Nunn is directing. And one day, Andrew Lloyd Webber and he come in and they say, Gareth, we need you to take Michael Ball into the other room to teach him the song, which he's never heard. And then we'll come in and we'll hear him sing it afterwards. So I took Michael in and I said, how does it go? And I said, it goes like this. And he said, is that it? And he got to number 2 in the charts. Number 2 in the charts with that song, ladies and gentlemen. Now, also playing Sir George in that show. Do you remember who it was? The original Sir George. Sir Roger Moore. Yes, absolutely, Sir Roger Moore. And it was given to me to coach him and to take him into the room. It's quite a complex score for somebody who'd never done a musical before. And I got to know Roger Moore really well. We became quite close. And he'd say in rehearsals, Gareth, he'd say, sing me that song about the cuckoo again. Sing me, go on. So I'd say, okay. The cuckoo is a strange, strange bird. He sits upon the grass. His wings are neatly folded up, his beak shoved up his arse. And in the strange position, he murmured twit, 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 while you try saying cuckoo, cuckoo, with a beak brim full of shit. He loved it. He used to call me his little hairy-arsed squaddy. And he would take me to the Cleaver Square wine bar. We'd go for lunch all the time. It was quite really lovely getting to know this sweet, sweet man. And one day, he said, Gareth, I'm taking you to lunch and it's important. So it was the very final day of rehearsals before we went into the Prince of Wales Theatre. And we went to lunch. And he said, now, Gareth, I'm going to drop a bomb here because I'm going to be leaving this production. I'm not going to go forward with the show. And you're the first to know because you've been really good to me. And he said, I'd like to say a thank you, and reached into his pocket and passed me a little beautiful box, which I opened, and in it was a gold Cartier watch. To say thank you. I mean, such a sweet man. I knew when Trevor and Andrew called the company the following Monday at the theatre early to break the news, I knew what Trevor was going to say. Oh! We must. We've reached a pons asinorum, haven't we? We have to pull together because, isn't it? That is to say, because Roger Moore will not be coming forward with us, and therefore, Kevin Coulson will be playing the part of Sir George. Well, it was a real clangor. And so we went forward. Now, I happened to hear during rehearsals, you see, that Trevor was going to be doing a forthcoming production of The Baker's Wife. And I thought, right, I don't want to be a rehearsal pianist forever. So when he's in a rehearsal, I'm going to see him sitting there and I want to make a beeline and say, I want to be your MD. Fuck it. And so British this, because I saw him on his own and I went to him and suddenly someone came into the room and I went back to the piano. I made an ignominious retreat, you see, because I thought, oh no, I can't do it. And eventually he was on his own, and I went right up to him and I said, Trevor, I'd like to be the musical director of your forthcoming production of The Baker's Wife. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, good to know. Good. And I thought no more of it. Well, anyway, as it happens, around this time, I'm moonlighting as a supply teacher at Norwood Girls' School because I'm a fully qualified teacher. And so it so happens that I'm staying in Battersea Road and I'm sharing these digs. I'm actually the tenant of 2 boys. And these are, I suppose, what you'd call them now is escorts, but in those days we called them rent boys, you see. And their real names were Tom and Paul, but their nom de plumes were Roger and Dick. And in exchange for concessions on the rent, I would take the bookings for Roger and Dick. And so sometimes it would go like this. Bring, bring, hello, Roger or Dick. Yes, yes. Oh, you want Dick? Yes. How long? Oh, I see, half an hour, 30. Okay, well, I can fit you in, and so can he, probably, but I can fit you in on Tuesday at 6:30. Okay, that's great. Dick at 6:30 on Tuesday, and that's how it works. And then these various people would turn up, you see, and I'd be marking the girls' homework downstairs, you see. Linda must work harder at the recorder, and upstairs I'd hear, oh, you bastard! And Elaine really needs to work at her harmony work much better. Oh, that's smart, you fucking bastard. So it was difficult, because, you know, I was downstairs marking the girls' homework, and they were upstairs marking the fucking clients. So anyway, one night, the phone rings. Bring, bring. Hello, Roger or Dick? Who? Stephen? Stephen Schwartz. It's Stephen Schwartz, ladies and gentlemen. Why am I doing that? So it's Stephen Schwartz. Oh, my goodness, you're in London tomorrow? Trevor said we should meet. My goodness. CSC's restaurant at the Barbican? I'll be there tomorrow night. And I met him. We had the most wonderful dinner. Got on like a house on fire. And at the end of the dinner, he said, right, you're my MD. And that just goes to show we all need a break. And that was my break. And perhaps, talking about breaks, this is a really good moment to introduce my guest, because this wonderful lady lays claim to 2 Olivier Awards. You'll all know who she is, and therefore she doesn't need much introduction from me, but except to say that she's the most delightful person to work with. I've worked with her before. She's unimaginably smart and clever and beautiful. Please welcome to the stage to sing Meadowlark from The Baker's Wife, Joanna Riding.
When I was a girl, I had a favorite story of the meadowlark who lived where the rivers wide. Her voice could match the angels in its glory, but she was blind. The lark was blind. An old king came and took her to his palace, where the walls were burnished bronze and golden braid, and he fed her fruit and nuts from an ivory chalice, and he prayed, sing for me, my meadowlark, sing for me of the silver morning, set me free, my meadowlark, and I'll buy you a priceless jewel, and cloth of brocade and crewel, and I'll love you for life if you will sing for me. Then one day as the lark sang by the water, the god of the sun heard her in his flight, and her singing moved him so gift of sight. He gave her sight, and she opened her eyes to the shimmer and the splendor of this beautiful young god, so proud and strong. And he called to the lark in a voice both rough and tender, "Come along, fly with me, my meadowlark, fly with me in the silver morning, past the sea where the dolphins bark. We will dance on the coral beaches, make a feast of the plums and peaches, just as far as your vision reaches. Fly with me." But the meadowlark said no, for the old king loved her so. She couldn't bear to wound his pride. So the sun god flew away, and when the king came down next day, he found his meadowlark had died. Every time I heard that part, I cried. And now I stand here starry-eyed and stormy. Oh, just when I thought my heart was finally numb, a beautiful young man appears before me, singing, "Come, oh, won't you come? And what can I do if finally for the first time the one I'm burning for returns the glow? If love has come at last, it's picked the worst time. Still I know I've got to go. Fly away, meadowlark, fly away on the silver morning. If I stay, I'll grow to curse the dark. So it's off where the days won't bind me. I know I leave wounds behind me, but I won't let tomorrow find me back this way. Before my past once again can bind me. Fly away. And we won't wait to say goodbye, my beautiful young man. And
So, I get a call from Trevor's PA, Morag Darby, and she says, Trevor would like to meet you at the Young Vic Cafe to talk about something, and so we met. Oh. There are 3 projects I would like us to work on. And he said the first is AA, the second is PAB, and the third is GWTW. Well, it turned out that AA was Acorn Antiques, the musical. PAB was Porgy and Bess, and GWTW was Gone with the Wind. And, well, AA was quite interesting because I got to work with a splendid Victoria Wood. And and in the cast was Josie Lawrence. And Josie Lawrence said to me in rehearsals, "Gareth," she said, "I want you to know something. You have the most wonderfully fuck me up against the wall eyes." And Celia Imbery said from behind me, "I concur." we were doing technical rehearsals at the Haymarket Theatre, and I just came out into the Haymarket, you see, and there's a kind of bus stop and a waste bin, and I threw some crap into the bin, and with it, inadvertently, my dressing room keys. Oh, sorry, I have to search to find my dressing room keys, you see. And there's a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Julie Walters. And she puts a pound in my hand and says, "Go and buy yourself a cup of tea, love." And the whole fucking bus stop applauded. It was the first time that Porgy and Bess, which was otherwise known by the Gershwins at least as a folk opera, was rendered as a musical with all its constituent parts, but by which I mean actor-friendly keys, dance music, there'd be scene change music and underscoring, and it became a book musical for the first time. And it was given to me to arrange the entire thing from beginning to end. And The Guardian in the review described me as Gareth Valentine, the master butcher, who performed some, I love this bit, virtuoso filleting. Yeah, but some of you may not know, but Gone with the Wind actually happened in 1972, a production, and it was a show written by Harold Rome, and it was done at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. And the little girl in it was Bonnie Langford, you see. And anyway, they had a live horse as part of the show, and it was given to Noel Coward to review it for the Times on the opening night. And on the opening night, the horse shat copiously. Shat copiously all over the stage, you see. And in his review, Noel Coward said, "But they could have killed two birds with one stone by shoving the little girl up the horse's arse." Chichester Festival Theatre, Trevor Nunn, and we're doing now, because we're mates now, and we're doing Kiss Me Kate. And I said to Trevor, you know that the lawyer from the estate is coming, from the Cole Porter estate, don't you? "Oh, yes, I think it." I said, "You know what his name is, don't you?" He said, No. I said, "His name is," are you ready for this? Peter Felcher. Peter Felcher. Trevor said, "Oh, no, can't possibly, no. It must be Fletcher, Peter Fletcher." I said, "Trevor, watch the lips. Felcher. And if that wasn't bad enough, his wife's name was Nancy. Now, as Trevor was coming toward the end of his tenure at the National Theatre, he decided to go out with a big bang and do a swan song, a big musical, you see. Now, I'll tell you about his first choice in a moment. But his second choice was Fiddler on the Roof, which he couldn't get the rights for because Chichester beat him to it. And the third choice was Anything Goes, which is the thing that we ended up doing. Some of you, I'm sure, saw that production. And but the first choice he wanted to do was with a living English composer. And Trevor told me the whole story about how he wanted to do this particular show. And he went out into the depths of Sussex to meet this guy. And he said, "I explained to him that we would lavish everything on it. We would give it all the attention it deserves. He would want for nothing." And I sat down with him, and for 3 whole hours, I explained song by song, scene by scene, everything that we would do to make it a triumph. And at the end, he said to me, "Trevor, I've never liked anything you've ever done." He said, "You're not coming anywhere near this," he said. "And what's more, I've already arranged for it to go on a tour." And Trevor said to me something I've never heard him say before or since. "The man was an absolute cunt." If you're ever wondering about leading ladies and how the decisions are made around casting. I'll tell you a little story because the casting was between Rhea Jones and Sally Ann Triplett as Reno Sweeney in Anything Goes. And Stephen Meyer and I and Trevor and the casting director, Wendy Spon, I think it was, argued over who we thought it should be, and it just went round in circles. And in the end, Trevor said, okay, stop this. And he reached in his pocket and pulled out a coin and tossed it and said, heads, it's Sally Ann Triplett, and tails, it's Rhea Jones. And Sally Ann Triplett became our leading lady. That's how it was done. We did the first preview. And the audience was going wild halfway through Act 1, wild at the end of Act 1. They went wild at the end, halfway through Act 2, and at the end they just wouldn't leave. I mean, the doors opened, the exit doors opened, exit music played, and the audience still would not leave the auditorium. Never seen anything like it. Trevor came running, do you remember that ship? So I was on top of this big ship, you see, with my band, and he came running up the log, oh! They won't leave, no one's leaving, they've opened the doors. I mean, it was incredible. But we had the good fortune, you see, that we went to the theatre old Drury Lane with it. And there were sniffer dogs around one night because the Queen was going to come, the Queen and Prince Philip and the Duke and Duchess of Kent, and an informal visit to see the show. So exciting. And there was a frisson, and all the audience could see the people up in the royal box. And, oh my God, it's them. You know, it's quite exciting. So I said to the company manager, I said, don't we play the national anthem? And he said, no, he said, because it's an unofficial visit, you see, so we don't do that. So I said, well, okay. Anyway, went to do the overture, and the lights came down, and I started the overture, timpani, and the whole house stood up, and the Queen and the party stood up, and they heard... So, 1996, and I'm at the Royal Festival Hall watching a concert. Forget what it was now, but there's a tap on my shoulder, and who sits behind me but Anne McNulty, who was then Sam Mendes' casting director at the Donmar Theatre. And she said, hello, Gareth. Hello, Anne. What are you doing? I haven't worked for ages. Oh, well, she said, Sam's going to be doing a production of Company at the Donmar. Would you like to be considered? Oh, God, yes. And so I met Sam, and by the end of the meeting, I was the musical director. And he said, now, I'd like to get Sheila Gish to come in and to meet us. They don't call them auditions, they call them meetings now, you see. And so she was going to come to meet us, and she was going to sing for us for the role of Joanne. And, well, you remember Sheila Gish, don't you? You must, yeah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful first-class actress. And she came in, and she sang the song. Everybody rise, 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 rise. And Sam Mendes said, oh my God, he said, or to quote Jonathan Tunick, it comes from the factory in a box in that condition. He said, what do you think? I said, it's awful. She sounds like a fucking corncrake. She's perfect. And she got the role, and she won Best Actress in a Musical at the Olivier Awards. Of course she did. So anyway, we then, some years later, we did Merrily... I'm starting to sound like Trevor now. We did Merrily We Roll Along, which was Michael Grandage's production, and in it was a young Julian Ovenden and Sam Spiro and a young Daniel Evans. And there was an unofficial version, which was never meant to be done, and an official version. And the estate, by mistake, sent us the unofficial version. Now, the official version begins with a little kid coming onto the stage. And the unofficial one starts with a valedictorian opening. All these young kids, high school kids, you know, in academic dress, are singing The Hills of Tomorrow. So anyway, Sondheim came over, and George Firth, its author, came over, and they sat in their respective seats, and we did a dress rehearsal. And the lights came down, and on came these young kids, you see, in their academic gowns. And George Firth threw his notepad and pencil down and went ballistic. We did the whole run, and through the technical period, neither Stephen nor George Firth would speak to each other. I mean, Michael Grandage was going between one and the other with notes. They were so cranky. The whole thing was a disaster. But we are convinced to this day, Sophie Thompson and I, that we saw George Firth sneak into a late preview, and he had like a hat and a false beard and glasses and this thing. I suppose to see whether we'd made any changes or anything like that, because we hadn't. But his pill was sugared insofar as we won an Olivier Award for Best Revival of a Musical. So that can't be too bad, can it, ladies and gentlemen? Then I did Into the Woods, Tim Sheeder's production with a witch of somebody I've never heard of since called Hannah Waddingham. Yeah. And then conducted the 70th and 75th birthday concerts for the great late Stephen Sondheim. And they said, Rula Lenska would like to do a number. So she's going to come round to your flat and she's going to go through a number. Forget what the number was now, but all I remember is the keys. Oh my God, they were going up and down like a whore's knickers. I could never find the right key. And she was very tactile, you know. So I'd be playing, and the hands were, and I'm not used to it with ladies, you know. The hands were going all here, and I'd feel these things on the, you know, and these, like an octopus, all those testicles all over me, and I couldn't deal with it. In one day, I could smell the whiskey. So and then I felt these things land on my shoulders, you know. What the hell is this? And at that moment, she chose to tell me about her passion for elephants. Know what this is? Good times and fun times, I've seen them all, and my dear, I'm still here. Plush velvet sometimes just pretty. Now this moment, this next section is called Difficult Women. And this song I was doing in one of the concerts sometime, and Eartha Kitt was rehearsing. And I said, Miss Kitt, I said, how many of these vamps do you want? When do you start singing? How the hell do I know, Garth? She said, just come in when I start singing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have many talents, but clairvoyance is not one of them. So it sounded like this. Good times and bum times, I've seen them all. Difficult Woman number 2, and it's Betty Buckley, and we're doing Follies at the Albert Hall, and we're in rehearsal, same number, and all of a sudden we're in rehearsal, she says, stop, stop, stop. This is a rehearsal, and I'm told that we have a sitz probe. We are meant to have, we're not having a sitz probe. I've never heard anything like it in all my life. It's imperative we have one. If we don't have one, it's amateur. I've never heard of anything in my life. I will tell the press about this. It's disgusting. You're going down for this. I speak in everybody in this rehearsal room. We've gotta have a sitz probe. I said it's at 2:30 this afternoon. Gone with the Wind. Difficult woman number 3, Margaret Martin, who she took on no less than Gone with the Wind, that iconic piece, that American thing. And she was going to write the book and the music and the lyrics, something which even Stephen Sondheim would balk at doing, but she was going to do it. And she would bring her music in, you see, for me at the piano, and she'd say, Gareth, I wrote this, she said last night, and I just want you to tell me, can you play it for me? And it was just a line, no chords, no nothing, just the top line, you see. And I'd say, but Margaret, what's the feel? I need the feel. Oh, she said the feel, gee, well, I think it's something like this. And Trevor Nunn was the other side of the piano. He said, no. I beg to differ. I think it's more like this. And she said, no, I really do think it's like this. But you know what? They're not here. Look who's here. I'm still here. Oh, I almost forgot. Difficult woman number 4. Imagine the day, I'm taking you back 25 years ago, and I decide with my then boyfriend, Niall, that we would go to Kent. It was a sunny day, the breezes were blowing, and we were in a cornfield. Yeah? And the birds are singing, and we're having a great time. Don't stop. And could you believe it? In the distance, I just see this little woman come with a dog at its side, getting closer and closer, bigger and bigger. Oh my God, she's coming nearer. Oh my God, put your t-shirt on, put your knickers back. Oh my God. And of all the places in all the world, of all the people, of all the times, it turned out to be Anne fucking Widdicombe. With a face like an arse that had fainted. You know, when we first put that on in rehearsal, all the mice threw themselves into the traps. Difficult woman number 5. Harvey Weinstein. The phone calls. Hi, it's Harvey Weinstein here. I hear you're the go-to guy. We're bringing Finding Neverland to London. It's going to go to the Leicestershire Square Theatre. We're going to go to Broadway. We're going to go to the West End. It's maybe a movie. Who knows? I said, oh, I'd be absolutely thrilled. And so I ended up being the musical director of the first, workshop. And Julian Ovenden were in it, and Jenna Russell, and smart people like that. And what's really interesting, is that, don't forget, Harvey Weinstein is a movie man, right? So at the Jerwood Space, he created these bleachers, this kind of staggered seating, so that the action would take place down there. And it was all bristling with cameras, you see. And I sat next to Harvey at the top of this affair, so that I was conducting above the heads of the audience, very selective audience, including Jean-Paul Gaultier for some reason. And his I've got a story about that, but anyway. And his assistant, Victoria, was sitting next to him, you see. And through the whole show, he never took his eyes off these 4 mini screens. Because he's a movie man, he thinks only like a movie man. Through his, never looks the stuff down there. Can only see anything through those screens. But 6 weeks later, it was all over. And I'm walking up Holborn, and the phone calls, and it's Victoria. Harvey would like to speak to you from LA. I go into a shop door. Hi, Harvey, hi. Kid, you were great, you were swell. You're going to come with us, this is going to be the biggest thing. He said, I'm just ringing round the creators to ask what you think we need to do in order to, make the show better. So I said, well, 3 things, Mr. Weinstein. I said, first of all, I think that there's an expendable character in Act 1. Secondly, I think the denouement of Act 2 needs to be more explicit. And thirdly, and I said most importantly, I think that the Act 1 finale should come down with a big fuck-off number with the ensemble on board that ship. You really think that? I said, yeah. He said, well, that's why you're not coming forward with us, and put the phone down on me. Everything about it is appealing, and I do the... 5, 6, 7, 8. Cabaret, 1986, and this is when I first meet my good friend John Kander. Let me explain. Gillian Lynne had asked me to be musical director of this production of the Strand Theatre, now the Novello. And she said, Gareth, you can sing rather well, she said. Why don't you be the one who sings Tomorrow Belongs to Me? You see, you can conduct, and then you can climb up the ladder, you see, up onto the stage, and sing, the sun in the meadow is summery warm, la 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 la. You see? I said, great, I'll do that. And anyway, one night I go onto the stage, and there's this wicked old queen called Basil Patton, who was in the original Judi Dench production all those years ago. And this is the Kit Kat Club, you see, and they're sweeping the stage and putting the stools on the bars at the end of the night. And I get up and I clear my throat to sing. And Basil leans over to me and says, air balls in your throat? I couldn't sing another. Then John Kander, years later, rings me up and says, we're bringing Kiss of the Spider Woman to London, and it's coming from Toronto to London before it goes to the Broadhouse Theatre on Broadway, and we'd love you to be the MD. Oh, of course I will be. And so we were in rehearsals, late dress rehearsals, at the Shaftesbury Theatre, and who was there but Hal Prince, and John Kander, and Fred Ebb, and Terence McNally, and Garth Drabinsky pre-jail, and the great Chita Rivera. And I was in the pit, and John said, it's time for you to meet Chita. Come and meet Chita. And he took my arm, and I went up there, and there she was. Do you remember the show where she had that big bird, that Mardi Gras thing with all the feathers and everything? Give me love. Give me love, give me love, give me kiss, give me love. Give me. Oh, Christ, I should be on the fucking stage. But and I went, and there she was. And John said, Chita, this is your musical director. Gareth, this is Chita Rivera. And Chita said to me, and I swear, she put out and said, hi, nice to meet you, Garth. I hear you're a dirty little boy. Yeah. And I said to her, and can I say, Miss Rivera, how different you look than in those Tarzan movies? And she laughed, and from that moment we got on like a house on fire. Oh yeah, that's right, because 2 years ago, I remember, she was coming over because she wanted to see Company and see Patti LuPone do Company. And so therefore, we had dinner here, me and Chita, in the Zedel brasserie here, and went to see the show. And afterwards we went to Patti's dressing room, and Chita said, and this is my good friend, Gareth Valentine. And Patti said, oh, you're that MD. What the fuck? Chita, again, he says, I want you to come over to New York because the Drama League of New York are honouring Chita in a tribute at the Pierre Hotel on Fifth Avenue, and we want you to come as a surprise guest. And he said, you'll stay with me. And I stayed with John in his wonderful brownstone house on West 71st Street for a week, and we did rehearsals and everything at the hotel. And everybody was there. So Anne Reinking was there, Joel Grey, Hal Prince, Cy Coleman, Stephen Sondheim, the mayor of New York, Dick Van Dyke, B. Arthur. You know, it was the whole thing. It was so exciting. And Liza Minnelli, too. She landed on helicopter on top of this fucking hotel. So they said, well, what do I have to do, John? He said, well, all the dancers who've danced, all those boys with Chita, from West Side Story to present day, they're all going to be in this number, Hey Big Spender, and you know, Fred Ebb has been given special dispensation to write a new lyric about Chita. Wonderful. What do I have to do? Well, he said, you have to come on stage, and the boys will form a scrum in the middle of the number, and when they open, you'll come downstairs, and all you have to do is wave and say, hi, Chita. Simple. But he said, you have to do it in a rubber jock strap and boots. I said, well, it just so happens. And I remember going to the rehearsal. It was February. It was snowing. A limo appeared, and Fred Ebb is in the back seat, and me between Kander and Ebb, going through Central Park to the rehearsal as it's snowing. I'll never forget. It was just a wonderful memory. We got to the show that night, and we started the number. It was all going great. Was going great. Audience were loving it. I was there standing in the wings in my jockstrap talking to Bebe Neuwirth. And the boys got into the scrum, and like we rehearsed, I got into the scrum behind them, you see. And they opened up like the Red Sea. And I came forward, and I walked forward as they opened up. I went to the front of the stage, and I went, hi, Chita! And at that moment, my jockstrap split. And all I saw was Dick Van Dyke looking at me with a face like a dyke in a van with a dick. So Chita said, well, she said, we're going to have a party. And so I went to see the show at the Broadhurst Theatre, and she said, it's a penthouse suite, and I want to introduce you to a special friend of mine. And so we went to this party, and it was gorgeous, and there was 50 people there and champagne, you know. And I was introduced to the guest. It was no less than Liza Minnelli. And I had my lovely English friend at the time with me. And I said, Liza, I'd like you to introduce you to my friend, Robert Rimmer. No relation to Nancy Felcher.
What an amazing time. The Gareth you're watching is all of that and so much more. I remember hearing him practice in the dressing room, going to sit next to him just to listen. And his smiling face in the pit was a joy. Even when he put up signs to try to make me laugh while doing the show. So, shocked and thrilled to see his face. Come back, Gareth, because I miss you and I love you. Bye.
Gillian Lynne and Aspects of Love. And I'm playing a tune for the show. Andrew Lloyd Webber. And Gillian Lynne is standing there, you see, the choreographer, and I said, but Gillian, what tempo would you like it? Oh, darling, she said, don't worry, I'll count you in. I said, when you're ready, Gillian. She said, and. Remember that little dumpy boy I told you about, Stephen Mear? Stephen Mear, well, we were doing the pyjama game together, and I remember one particularly awful day, and I was so bored. You get bored sometimes, you know. Show business isn't always, you know, vibrant and great and everything. And I was so bored. And Stephen Mear passed me. I said, oh, Stephen, I said, I'm so bored.
You'd be a lot more bored if you were out of work, though, wouldn't you?
What an arsehole. Wayne McGregor. Yeah, good big name. The Royal Ballet and all that. Really swanky, you know. And because Kevin Spacey had commissioned me to write in an original score of Aladdin, you see, for the Old Vic, in which Ian McKellen would be playing Widow Twankey, the dame, you see. And so the director said, Sean Matthias said, you know, Ian will come round to your house because he wants to work on a particular song with you and to co-write it, you see. So one summer's day, I'm waiting for him to come, and I see the car come, and I look through the blinds, you see, and there he is in this rather striking Panama hat and this Gandalf beard and this great cane, you see. And because on the gate it said, beware of the dog, because I had 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers, they looked like Queen Anne chairs with teeth, you know, you have to be and he had a cane, and he rang the bell with the cane. Ring! The dogs are going mad. That's not me, that's the dogs. And I opened the door, and he said, I've come in to rehearse. I want to be Marlena. Yeah. Come on in. Come on in, don't sit. He came in, and he sat there in a chair, you know, like Fosse style, you know, with the back here, and with, you know. And my dog, Jed, the Staffordshire, decided that he was going to lie on Ian's feet. And as Ian was talking about the number, he said, no, about this number, I want to, and the dog farted voluminously. And Ian said, I want to talk, oh, rich, oh God, rich. And we got to singing, so I thought, well, I'll And I said, well, anyway, I said, well, we've got to do this number, and it's got to be Marlene Dietrich. So but it's also got to be simple for Ian, because he's not a singer by any means, you see. So I'd like to demonstrate this number for you, ladies and gentlemen. So come back with me now to 2004. And this is Ian McKellen as Widow Twankey, as Marlene Dietrich. Oh, as Marlene Dietrich. Okay, in Aladdin. I've done this, I've done that, had more lives than a cat, it's not over. I played ball, I played bat, I was never old hat, it's not over. The toys that were my delight, they were just fleeting. Take it easy, Ian, you're rushing. They were my delight. I've been good, I've been bad, but I tell you, I'm glad it's not over. Forever hungry for more. Where's that fork, boys? Where's that fork, boys? Fill me, it's not over. God, there we are. Well, now, not so long ago, the National Theatre put on a production of Follies, and Stephen Sondheim was present, and also present was the young lady outside that door at the moment who sang the part of Sally. And she's going to sing for us tonight, Losing My Mind. Now, it was probably the last time Sondheim heard this song, or indeed heard any Sally sing. And it was the person I'm going to introduce you now. Please give a big warm hand to Joanna Lumley.
No, Gareth, it's not Joanna Lumley. It's Dame Joanna Lumley. The sun comes up, I think about you. The coffee cup, I think about you. I want you so, it's like I'm losing my mind. The morning ends, I think about you. I talk to friends, I think about you. And do they know it's like I'm losing my mind? All afternoon doing every little chore, the thought of you stays bright. Sometimes I stand in the middle of the floor, not going left, not going right. I dim the lights and think about you. Spend sleepless nights to think about you. You said you loved me. Or were you just being kind? Or am I losing my mind? I want you so, it's like I'm losing my mind. Does no one know it's like I'm losing my mind? All afternoon doing every little chore, the thought of you stays bright. Sometimes I stand in the middle of the floor, not going left, not going right. I dim the lights and think about you. Spend sleepless nights to think about you. You said you loved me. Or were you just being kind? Or am I losing my mind?
Thank you. Now, can we have the lights up a little bit, because I just want to have a look at who's in here, yes? I want to see who I've had, who I've met. Who have we got? So, yeah, have we met before, you and I? We have? So? 1988. Good God, what's your name? Sorry? Sophia. And what's your name? Julia. I know, yeah, Julia. And how do you know each other?
We don't really.
Oh, really? Because I thought it was a lesbian couple, you know. When I was. So Sophia and Julia. Okay, so you don't know each other, so you just met tonight, right? Where do you live?
Sorry.
And where do you live?
North London.
Where? Crouch End. These two sat on the table. They're telling me that they're not able to tell me that they're really friends. Let's tell you something when the story ends. They're lesbians. They're lesbians. They're dykes. They came here on bikes. They take the saddle off the bikes, you see, 'cause they goes where they have the pee. They cycle along together, no matter what the weather, especially in leather. I love that you come to my cabaret. Let's give it for the girls, everyone. I hope you'll be very happy together. Yeah, very good. Now, okay, here we go, look. Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to. I hope you've had a great time. I want to do some thanks, first of all, to the wonderful bar staff, ladies and gentlemen. And to my sound and video operators, Tom and Enzo. And my guest, of course, Joanna Riding. And to my good friend and colleague, director, collaborator, the wonderful and painstakingly wonderful Connor Sheridan. Where are you, Connor? Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the show, the name's Gareth Valentine. If you didn't, it's John Wilson. Now, I'm going to end by, sometimes one of my great pleasures is to write dance arrangements for choreographers. One of my favourite things, Ron Field, Derek Dean, Wayne McGregor, Steve and so on. It's one of my favourite pastimes. And Derek Dean gave me a very special commission. He said, I want you to come and work with us at English National Ballet. We're doing a thing called Strictly Gershwin. And I want you to be the musical director and to help me put this thing together. And we had the most wonderfully collaborative time. He's one of the funniest men and one of my great friends. I think, is Derek here tonight? No, I thought he... Anyway, but we put this number together called I Got Rhythm for the finale of Act 2, and I'll play it for you now, just to demonstrate some of the stuff that I get up to. And sometimes you have to, a 16-bar number has to be, it has to be blown up into a 7 or 9 minute production number. I'm not going to put you through 7 minutes of music, but I'll give you an example of what I've been up to. Okay.
Yet you're my